Here we go. Can't wait for the list. Let's do the intro and get this going.
Is it just me? Or is it getting crazier out there?
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Late Horror Show. I'm Dino, as always. That is Dave, not a doctor, Plouffe. And our guest is back, Dr. Jeff Thompson. Good to have you back, Jeff. How are you doing?
I'm doing just great. Thank you for inviting me back.
Good. Oh, yeah. The last show was great. So we figured, Dave came up with the idea for best decades and talking best decades. So that's what we're going to do. But before we do that, Dave, I'll let you introduce Dr. Jeff Thompson. Let me say hello to everybody in the chat real quick. Chris W., Harry Scott, what's going on? Raj, Kathy is here. Jimmy D is here. Chris W., what is going on? The Buzz, good to see you. Been a while. Gigi, good to see you in the chat. Hello, everyone. I am sorry I've not been around. It's okay. Much love to you. Florida Man is here. Thank you for becoming a member. Edward Stewart, Connie, is that everybody? Ed Stathis is here. And here we go. I think I got everybody. J.O.B. is here. So there you go. This is an awesome stream to bring up, Dave, by decade. Our lists. This is going to be fun to talk about. Why don't you go ahead and talk? And you know what? His links, Dr. Jeff Thompson, is in the description below. I believe they're to the books that you have. So, Dave, go ahead.
Well, thank you very much.
Oh, yeah, sure.
We're welcoming Dr. Jeff Thompson back for the third time. So thank you for being here. Jeff has taught at Tennessee State University for 35 years. He also taught at Nashville State Community College. We know him from writing 3 books on the life of Dan Curtis and his films, The Television Horrors of Dan Curtis, The Night of Dan Curtis, and The House of Dan Curtis. You may be able to see Jeff this coming summer from July 31st to August 2nd at the LAX Westin Hotel, that's near me, at a Dark Shadows convention. It is the 60th anniversary of Dark Shadows. Feels like only 15 or 20, but no, it's 60. And little known fact about Jeff, he was a former announcer on WAMB radio, the best in big band and classical pop music in Nashville. 99.3 on the FM dial, 1200 on the AM.
Nice try, Dave, but you know,
Right.
not quite the radio voice, but you're doing all right.
I think it was fine.
All I'm trying to do is YouTube.
WAMB ended in 2013 when the owner died. I wish it was still around. I enjoyed playing all of that great music and a lot of movie music and movie songs.
Nice, sweet. Hello, the Mummy and the Monkey is in the chat. Good to see you, Sally Skellington. What's going on? And everybody popping in. So I think we're going to get right to it. You guys can kind of play along or get your list together. And as we tell you our favorite movie of each decade, you can pop yours in the chat too. And if it's different than ours, you know, and say, hey, this is mine. So there you go. But Dave, I think we're going to let Jeff go first. And we're going to start with the 1920s, right?
Yeah, we're going to start with the 1920s. And again, this list is going to change, you know, next week, next month, next year. We may have different films for this. And this is not necessarily the highest rated horror films of the time or the most popular. These are just films that we absolutely love. And so we will begin with the 1920s and move up to the 1990s. So.
Yeah. And you know what? My list changed again. It's, you know, our preferences are always changing. What we love always changes. So I think there's going to be some different, because I've given top 10 lists over the years on this channel many times. There's a couple different ones in here this time. So yeah, Jeff, go ahead. 1920s. What is your pick?
Well, there are so many good ones. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, The Golem, Nosferatu, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, The Phantom of the Opera, The Man Who Laughs. And before I tell you my favorite from that decade, I want to tell you about a movie that is nobody's favorite because nobody can see it, London After Midnight. But have you seen director Ansel Farage's new movie called Screening After Midnight? It's on YouTube. Just type in Screening After Midnight and it will come up. It's a 20-minute film, a fiction based on London After Midnight and what it might be like if we could see it today and why we can't and where it might still be. So
Very
look
cool.
that up sometime. But the 1920s era movie that I choose is The Bat, directed by Roland West and remade in 1930 as a talking picture, The Bat Whispers, and then again in 1959 as The Bat with Vincent Price and Agnes Moorehead. But The Bat from 1926 is quite interesting, based on the stage play by Mary Roberts Reinhardt and Avery Hopwood that was on Broadway, I think, in 1920. I like the movie very much, and you might have heard that the 1930 version was perhaps an inspiration for Batman. But this movie is very, very intriguing. It's shot in a mysterious, atmospheric way. There's a little bit of comedy, as always you find, in early movies, and Shakespeare, some comedy to, contrast with the horror and tragedy. But it's a very well-made film all about, a master criminal, the Bat, who is stealing from people and eluding the police. So I rewatched it, of course, to prepare for this show and rewatched the 1930 remake too. So that's the one that I would choose. And speaking of Mary Roberts Reinhardt, who was a wonderful writer, she's buried at Arlington National Cemetery. I ran across her grave when I was there, when I was up in that area to attend a FanX convention. It's because her husband was in the military, and so wives can be buried there with their husbands. Constance Bennett is buried there because of her husband, and Ilona Massey is buried at Arlington. And very close in proximity to each other are the graves of two of the toughest guys ever, Joe Louis and Lee Marvin.
Nice. Okay. There you go.
Anyway, so my choice is The Bat because it just has some great visuals and an exciting story and a reveal at the end, who is the Bat, who is the culprit, who's doing this. And it's quite ingenious.
Who was the director of this one?
Roland West.
Okay.
And he remade it in 1930 as the talking version, The Bat Whispers, and that's the one that Bob Kane, co-creator of Batman, said that he saw and gained inspiration from.
Yeah, the 1932 one was the one that I really fell in love with a lot of cool camera angles and cinematography and different uses with the camera during that era.
And it was actually shot two different ways. Widescreen. Back then they were experimenting with a widescreen format that if you play it on your TV now, it looks exactly like a widescreen movie. But it was kind of ahead of its time because none of the theaters had the right equipment to show or screen to show a movie like that. But if you can find a DVD or Blu-ray, you probably will get both versions of it.
Yeah, very cool. And I know we got to get through this real quick, but I'll never get the image out of that movie, the 1932 version, where he starts going, it's all black. You see this square, bright hole, and then there's a ladder, and then he starts climbing up to the ladder and goes right through the hole. It's imprinted in my head now. I just, every time I think of that movie. Anyways, Dave, go ahead. Your pick.
All right. My pick is actually The Phantom of the Opera,
Oh,
1925. I absolutely love this film. When we think of horror, I think a lot of times we think of the werewolf and the Dracula and Frankenstein and all these monsters. And I think there's something really, really creepy about the Phantom of the Opera. And this is starring Lon Chaney. It is also starring a young 23-year-old Mary Philbin, who I am absolutely in love with. I love the over exaggeration of the silent films, like when when someone's listening or when someone's scared. You have all this stuff, and I think that the Phantom is exceptionally creepy. I think it has a horrific ending that it scares me to this day, but there's creepiness to it, and I love every single minute of the Phantom of the Opera.
good choice. Good choice. Me, and again, there's so many good ones, but for me, the vampire pick, Nosferatu 1922. It's my favorite. I think it's the first movie I was exposed to, and director F.W. Murnau, and that German expressionist type of filmmaking that he brung that early on in the 20s and early 30s. Is just so fantastic. The set pieces, the design, and that eerie atmosphere you get. And then you also get Count Orlok, which, I mean, I don't think they can ever recreate that character just from, the way it was filmed and just the look, and the airiness. And not to mention the actresses in there were very beautiful. That's my choice.
Cool. Let's
Okay.
go on to a much more difficult decade, the 1930s.
I can't believe we all had different movies.
Yes, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Well, of course, in the 30s, we have Dracula, Frankenstein, Freaks, Island of Lost Souls, The Mummy, The Raven. But the one I choose might not be a conventional horror movie, but I have a very broad definition of horror. To me, any movie that scares me is a horror movie.
Yeah.
And to that end, disaster movies are horror movies to me. They scare me to death because I probably will never be in a haunted castle in Europe with clanking chains and shrieking ghosts, but I very possibly could be in an earthquake or a burning building or a sinking ship. So that kind of thing scares me. But for the 1930s, the movie that I choose is King Kong,
Oh,
which is
yeah.
adventure and everything else. But there are certainly horrific elements to it. All of those men screaming for their lives, when the creatures are after them and killing them. But, King Kong just it's just in everybody's DNA by this point. For those of us who love science fiction, fantasy, and horror movies, we've seen it. We know the dialogue, and we know every measure of Max Steiner's great music, and the climactic scenes at the Empire State Building. Fay Ray, just everything about it is just magical. So that's the one that I choose for the 30s. Because it's still scary today. It's frightening, if you really put yourself into the places of the characters and what they are going through.
Nice. I mean, yeah, King Kong's up there as one of the greatest films or of all time, really,
Mhm.
in a lot of people's minds. And it brings up the idea of do you consider it a monster, a creature feature, a monster film? There's always that debate going on, and you say adventure. So you kind of don't put it in that kind of grouping as a horror monster creature feature?
Oh yes, yeah. It definitely is a monster movie. And
Yeah.
but like I say, it has so many aspects to it. You can enjoy it if you like adventure or horror or monsters
Gotcha.
or just about anything.
Gotcha.
Do any of the remakes come close for you?
I've always loved the 1976 King Kong,
Yeah.
and the 2005 King Kong is quite ambitious and well made, especially because it takes place in the 1930s. And in the scene in the theater, the auditorium, a little bit of Max Steiner's music from King Kong is used in that movie. And of course, John Barry's music for King Kong 76 is exquisite. So yes, I like all three major iterations of King Kong and the Son of Kong.
Now, does it
Love Son of Kong? Yeah.
something clicks in my brain? Did Fay Wray make a cameo appearance in any of those?
Not in 76, and
All right.
she was dead by 2005, wasn't she, or retired?
Yeah.
So no, I don't think she did. You know, James Cameron wanted her to play Old Rose in Titanic.
I think that's where
and
you're getting confused.
She
Yeah.
turned it down, and so that's how Gloria Stewart got the part.
Okay.
Nice. Okay, Dave.
I'm going to throw it to you, Dino.
Oh, throw it to me. Okay. Well, there's only one at this point. I watched this later on in my life, which I was shocked about. And again, there's so many good horror movies in the 1930s. Universal started cranking them out. But I'm going to pick Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde from 1931 with Frederick March. I think Frederick March, probably one of the best acting performances in a horror film of the era. I loved it that much. I think Marion Hopkins and the relationship with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Mr. Hyde, is just fantastic. It's kind of rough. I'm not even going to say the words that, you would pop up when you talk about their relationship. I mean, locking her in her room, taking advantage of her. Very sexy woman, very beautiful, but depicted very, very rough in the film. But yeah, no, I love the movie. I love the acting. I love the atmosphere. The secondary actors were great. The old ladies were great. I love them drinking and getting drunk in the hallway there. But yeah, everything about that. I could go on and on and on, but that's my pick. That's my choice.
And I think Frederick March was in The Best Years of Our Lives.
Yes.
That's one of my most favorite movies.
Mm-hmm.
So the 1930s, I will admit, gave me a tough time because there's so many great films, including my favorite Frankenstein, The Son of Frankenstein. You can't go wrong with that film. Basil Rathbone, German Expressionism, the tie-in to Young Frankenstein, but I didn't choose that one.
Oh.
I chose 1939 also, The Cat and the Canary, starring Bob Hope, Paula Goddard, and I absolutely love this film. In the 1940s, we're going to get The Ghost Breakers, and that was something that was exposed to me here in Southern California. We would have Channel 5, KTLA, had Tom Hatton host the Family Film Festival when I was a kid. And he would show all sorts of great films, Topper Returns, Monsters Go Home, and so on. And he showed us The Ghost Breakers, and I loved it. And so then later on in life, I heard that that was the second time Bob Hope and Paula Goddard were together. And I searched out, and I found The Cat and the Canary. It was amazing. It's basically this haunted house on a bayou. There's an escaped criminal who dresses up as a cat. There is hidden treasure. George Zuko is in it. It is just so fun. But as you get
George Zuko was in every film in the 30s. No.
The closer you get to the ending, though, the more suspense, the more horror happens. And when that guy dressed up as a cat flings out this knife that looks like it could cut you from across the room, it is so scary. And of course we have now the ladies, it's the Spider Woman from Sherlock Holmes, Gail
Sondergaard.
Thank you. Academy Award winner Gail Sondergaard plays this incredible housekeeper, and it's just a phenomenal film. I could not ask for more. So 1939, The Cat and the Canary is my choice.
Excellent choice. Yeah, Ghostbreakers too. Again, so many movies you can put on these lists. That's another comfort film for me that I can put in over and over and over. I wish Bob Hope would have done more like along what Abbott and Costello did. They started going into the horror, side of things. But he's fantastic in those two films, and I wish he did more, but unfortunately, he didn't. He went on to befriend Bing Crosby, and I love those films too. They're all right, but the spooky stuff, Anyways, okay, 1940s.
Oh boy,
we're whipping through this, aren't we?
We're going pretty quick, but this is where we're going to be slowing down because the 40s is so ripe with horror.
Yeah. So
yes. Speaking of horror comedies, one of my favorites is "You Will Find Out" with Kay Kaiser, the band leader, and the only movie in which Boris Karloff, Bela Lugosi, and Peter Lorre all are in together. That's the only one. But in the 40s, we have the Mummy movies, The Wolfman, Cat People, The Seventh Victim, Dead of Night. But the one I choose is the richly atmospheric film, The Uninvited from 1944. Just a fantastic movie. And speaking of horror comedies, this is certainly not one of those, because this is really the first movie that takes ghosts seriously.
Yes.
In this world, ghosts exist, and we are confronted with one, and it's about what the brother and sister do, when their house has a ghost. So I like The Uninvited very much. It runs on Svengoolie every once in a while, and based on a novel by Dorothy McCardle. But speaking of WAMB radio, I played many different recordings of Stella by Starlight, a great 1940s song that originated in The Uninvited. The music was composed by Victor Young, who did The Greatest Show on Earth, Around the World in 80 Days. But he wrote fantastic, songs for the Great American Songbook, Golden Earrings, My Foolish Heart, Love Letters, When I Fall in Love, and Stella by Starlight. Later, lyrics were added to it, and people like Dick Haynes and Frank Sinatra and all of the singers did it. And in the 70s, Helen Reddy did a wonderful recording of it on one of her albums. So, the song has lasted as long as the movie. So I like, what this movie is about, and the idea that, yes, ghosts are real. They're not something funny, or they're not a hoax, somebody dressed up, but this is a real ghost, and it's in the house. And what are we going to do? So that's why The Uninvited is my favorite from the 40s.
And I don't know if it's true or not. Is it where we get that classic, woman on the edge of the cliff in the ocean over, seeing it?
Yes.
I think that's where we first start getting it. And then year after year, we get them on covers of magazines and stories after stories after stories, especially those pulp books that we started to get, paperbacks. But yeah.
It's a great Gothic horror story. So that's why I like it. And I was going to say something else, but it slipped my mind. But
good pick.
I know exactly what I was going to say. You mentioned the woman at the edge of the cliff. I'm sure that the writers of Dark Shadows had seen The Uninvited, because there are so many similarities. A woman who runs a sanitarium, and the idea of the house, the haunted house built at the edge of the cliff, and somebody might be falling off or being pushed or jump, and the whole idea of the haunted house. So that's another reason why I like the film.
That was actually my honorary mention for the 1940s. I was fortunate enough to see a stage production of The Uninvited.
Oh, wonderful.
And that was just so incredible. And I just remember the sister walking across the stage into a door that opens for her. Fog comes out of the door, and her quote is, "Coming, mother." And then the door closes behind her. And it is an atmospheric film. It was one of my parents' favorites. They turned me on to this film. So I could not concur more.
Yeah, Harry Scott says I love all movies, even some real stinkers. Well, you know what? I mean, in the 30s, you get a whole lot of those B horror movies, like dozens and dozens and dozens. I mean, there's a lot of movies that luckily they're on YouTube now, and some of them aren't really. They're middle of the road, like 5 out of 10, something like that. But well worth watching if you're a lover of like 1930s horror and stuff like that, especially mysteries. A lot of mysteries back in the day, but.
Well, I think also this is the time where we get the series, where we get Mr. Wong, where we get the Bowery Boys and their mystery stories. And, films, I don't want to say were inexpensive to produce, but there was like Monogram, just, every week there was a new film.
Oh, yeah. Dave, 1940s. I certainly hope you didn't pick mine. Go ahead.
I can guarantee you I did not.
Okay, okay.
Like this one, like the 1930s, I also chose a very unconventional film. Many of you would maybe consider it mystery, but I consider it horror, as horror is very, very personal to the individual, as Jeff pointed out earlier. I watched this film earlier today, and it reminded me, again, how scary it was. I will tell you, in the series, this was my father's favorite. I chose Sherlock Holmes and the Scarlet Claw.
Oh, yeah.
With Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce. And this was basically a story where a actor had been convicted of killing someone, and he served time in jail but escaped. And he is coming back to this particular city, and he is killing everyone that was involved with his time, including this would be the judge, an actress who was in the same studio as he was, and also a few other people. But he would kill them with a garden weeder and just basically rip out their throat. And there's about 4 murders that we actually see in this film, and it's just incredibly wonderful.
I'm not going to give you a pass on whether it's a horror movie or not, Dave, but you know what? We'll go with it.
It is. It's, to me, it's very, very scary. And
no, I get you there. Yeah.
I mean, you have twice as many murders than you do in Psycho.
True.
And the person is, you don't know who it is in the townsperson.
Yeah. Good choice. I'm a big Sherlock Holmes fan, so
I do.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Okay, my pick. Most of the people probably going to know this. It's my number one comfort film. It's a movie I can put on at any time. It's Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, 1948. Again, horror. Yes, it's horror. It's horror comedy, but it's horror. And it's definitely my favorite of all time. You got Abbott and Costello. I love Abbott and Costello. I love Marx Brothers and Laurel and Hardy and everybody else too. But Abbott and Costello, there's something about them I just love. And heck, you get them all in this film, right? You even get Vincent Price as the Invisible Man at the end. You get Bela Lugosi, Lon Chaney. It's just it's slapstick comedy, horror / whatever. The movie sets are great. The castle, characters, can't go wrong. I mean, it may not be the best movie ever made, but I think all around, for me, it's up there as like in my top 10 of best films of all time. That's how much I love it. So yeah.
Have you gotten your kids to watch that film?
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah.
And do they like it?
They love it, of course. Yeah, I introduced my kids to a lot of the earlier stuff, Jeff, like way early in their life, and luckily they ended up loving a lot of the old classic stuff. My daughter loves the 60s horror, 70s horror, so it's really cool seeing them enjoy that kind of stuff. So yeah, so Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. I think that's no surprise to anybody.
No, at least not to me.
Yeah, no. So there you go.
Take a look at the chat real quick for the 1940s. I think Chris W. mentioned one that I had not ever heard of before. The Devil Commands with Boris Karloff, 1941.
Okay. Yeah.
Edward Stewart loves the Bowery Boys and Abbott and Costello.
Yepers. Dino's one of my favorite films, of course. 40s comedy horror was the best. Yeah. At least this one was great. I'm trying to think if there was any really good comedy horror in the 30s. Jeff, anything come to mind with you?
No, I can't think of one at the moment in the 30s.
Yeah, they were a bit more serious in the 30s.
The Cat and the Canary is really funny.
Well, yeah. I mean, you got Bob Hope in there, but
yeah, you got Bob Hope, and he even mentions Jack Benny in there and all of that. So
nice. JLR says The Beast with Five Fingers, 1946. There you go. Again, and it changes too. You go and you watch when you haven't seen in like a couple decades or whatever, and you end up going, oh, you know what? Oh my God, I love this more than I ever thought I did before. And your list changes. But that's why I like that Jeff is kind of throwing out a list before he says his favorite, because there's so many good ones. And now we're going to go to the 1950s.
Perfect.
Yes, and somebody was mentioning in what decade was the Vincent Price Agnes Moorehead the Bat, and it was 1959, this decade, that gave us The Thing from Another World, The Creature from the Black Lagoon movies, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Curse of the Demon, Horror of Dracula, The Tingler. But my favorite from the 50s is one of my all-time favorite movies of all. And here again, my definition of horror is very inclusive and wide, but it's a terrifying movie, but also a very meaningful, poignant, unforgettable movie from 1957, The Incredible Shrinking Man. Richard Matheson's fantastic novel turned film, directed by Jack Arnold, and music by Hans J. Salter and Irving Gertz, and many of the Universal composers that did all of the music for the 50s sci-fi monster movies like Tarantula and Creature. But I've seen The Incredible Shrinking Man many, many, many times, and have shown it to some of my classes. It's one of a kind. There's nothing else like it. Grant Williams, I think, should have been nominated for the Academy Award, because his acting job is just phenomenal, and he does everything in the movie. He has to run, jump, swim, everything, is in addition to act and emote. But the movie is just it just draws you in, and it's one of those where if you happen upon it on the television, you have to sit and watch to the very end, because that last half is all Grant Williams, and almost like a silent movie, because there is very little, no dialogue, just some narration, and all of that great music.
Yeah.
So and then the way it ends, it's certainly not a Hollywood happy ending. The final line, "I still exist," is wonderful. So I love this movie, and that's by far my pick for the 1950s and of all time.
Wow. Yeah, the set designs too, right? I mean,
oh yes, yeah.
Unbelievable.
And except for some special effects shots in which he, is overlaid onto another scene and he doesn't have a shadow.
Right.
The special effects are, in many instances, are just as good as they would be today, because all of those giant props, the chair he sits in, and then when he falls into the basement, all of those the pencil, the matchbox, the pen that he uses to fight the spider. So yeah, it's just a great looking movie and sounding movie with a marvelous performance by Grant Williams, based on that great novel by Richard Matheson. And he of course wrote the screenplay. And so that's my choice.
Nice. And it's right when sorry, Dave, it's right when we're going into that, horror is starting to like take a back seat, and sci-fi is starting to come to the forefront. And because of the atomic age and all that stuff going on. and you get kind of an intermixing of horror and sci-fi, and you get stuff like this. So
Yeah, this is a perfect example of a horror slash sci-fi or a sci-fi horror film because it has both and does both very well and is realistic in terms of if this could really happen to a man, this is what would happen in his life, in his psyche, in his behavior, in his fight for survival.
Nice,
I
perfect.
may get thrown off the channel for this.
Oh
However,
boy.
I know nothing about the Incredible Shrinking Man. I guess there's this guy who's shrinking. So can you tell me a little bit about what happened?
Yes, he and his wife are on a boat, and she goes down into the hold of the little yacht or whatever, and he's still out on the top of the boat when a mysterious mist passes through the boat and covers him with essentially, I guess they used glitter, but residue that is on him, and so later he begins to get smaller. His pants are too loose. His shirt, the sleeves are too long, and his wife has always had to stand on her tiptoes to kiss him, but now she doesn't. So they go, to a medical institute, and he is put through many tests, and they don't know why. We never really understand or get to the truth of what that was or why he is shrinking, but it goes through, the agony that he and his wife go through because he's getting smaller and smaller and smaller and becoming such a cause célèbre in the media. And then there is a great sequence when he becomes very, very small, and the house cat gets in and jeopardizes him, and then, as I mentioned, circumstances cause him to go to the basement, and he falls down into the basement, and by this time he is so minuscule that he can't get back out, and so that second half of the movie is all about his struggles in the basement. Right. And at one point, the basement floods, the water heater bursts, and he's swept up in water, and so his wife, who's named Louise, goes down there, and he is hanging on to a pencil over a drain and trying not to go down the drain, and he's saying in a tiny voice, "Louise, down here, Louise, I'm down here, Louise." And she, of course, can't hear him or see him. But one of the very best Marvel movies is Ant-Man. And I was so thrilled to see a subtle tribute to the Incredible Shrinking Man, because at one point, Ant-Man, who has a male friend named Luis, Luis, is stuck in the bathtub or something, and is trying to signal to his friend Luis, and he's saying, Luis, I'm here, I'm down here, in an echo of what happens in The Incredible Shrinking Man. So as a fanboy, that made me go wild and made me love Ant-Man even more.
Nice. Yeah, Dave, it's a good movie. Listen, I know you're not a big sci-fi fan, but very good movie though.
Well, yeah. I'll look forward to it. Why don't you go ahead, Dino, and tell us about the 1950s?
And Bo is there. Yeah.
Bo is here.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, 50s, like I said, we start going into sci-fi. So I started really getting into a lot of, in my mind, 50s, I think, sci-fi for a lot of this stuff. But Creature from the Black Lagoon, 1954. It's the last of the Universal monsters, and it might not be the best, but for the 50s, I fell in love with the Creature from the Black Lagoon, and I love everything about it. It's classic. I love Julie Adams. She's a great actress. But yeah, no, I mean, not a whole lot to say on the Creature from the Black Lagoon, except, I just love the time they spend on the ship. You got some classic actors, you know, interacting on that boat, and not ship, boat. Big ship and that little tributary wouldn't work. But yeah, you get what I'm saying. So yeah, no, that's mine. Creature from the Black Lagoon. A little bit harder for me for the 50s. I know later on in the 50s we start getting the Hammer horror, the first of the Hammer horror stuff. I'm not the biggest fan of Hammer horror, sacrilegious to the Hammer horror lovers, but I do love some of the early stuff. And you know, some of the ones that go down, but I've watched some that have, you know, just drawn out just a little too long. But anyways, yeah, Creature from the Black Lagoon. So go ahead, Dave. I don't want
Is
I
that
can go
film,
on.
excuse me, black and white or color?
Oh, it's black and white. Yeah, there's no way I'm watching Creature from the Black Lagoon in color.
All right.
I can't do it. It's anything that started out black and white. I can't watch in color. I just can't do it. How about you, Jeff? Real quick before Dave gets to his, what do you think about the transitioning to releasing some of these older movies in color? You all right with that?
If the black and white original is always available, you know, there have been some films that have been added that have added color and look fantastic. But you know, at Tennessee State University, I taught world literature, and because we were reading things from Germany, France, India, Egypt, so many of them were in a different language and had to be translated. You know, the Earl King, the great poem by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, was written in German, but it was translated into English. And so I see the color versions of those films as just a different translation.
Okay.
But as long as you have the black and white original to go back to, if you know, if the color process is well done, and if it entices younger people who don't like black and white movies to watch it, well, okay.
Why not? Yeah.
I think that what I would love to see is all of the television series that started in black and white and then changed to color be made into color long before, you know, doing anything to any movies. But, you know, things like Bewitched, Gilligan's Island, The Adventures of Superman, The Man from U.N.C.L.E.,
Yeah.
you know, so many.
Wild Wild West.
Yes, Wild Wild West, Beverly Hillbillies, Petticoat Junction, you know, where Gomer Pyle, the first couple of seasons are in black and white, and then they change to color. It would be fun to see those in color, and Bewitched is like that, and I believe Gilligan's Island is too. But you know, as long as you can go back to the black and white originals, which were filmed in a way that embraced monochrome. You know, they didn't have color, and so the way they lit the sets and shot it and everything was meant to enhance that black and white, because color didn't exist, or it was too expensive, or just not the choice of the director.
There you go. Okay. Just thought I'd ask on your opinion. Okay, Dave.
Cool. My choice for the 1950s, 1956 Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I think it is just an amazing film. It is very, very scary. The idea that you could go to sleep and wake up and there's somebody else there. The idea of those pods being carried around, when we see certain parts of the movie where you have literally truckloads of these pods, knowing that this is going to take over the United States or the world. The subtle message of communism in the McCarthy era that's present in this film as well. I love the lead actor in this film, and I just, you know, I live nearby the triangular little park area at the end when they're hiding in the apartment and looking down. So I love to go there and have coffee, and up the street is the Church for the Fog. And so I just absolutely love Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I have not seen the remake. I hear the remake is excellent with Leonard Nimoy and
It's even better than the 50s, in my opinion.
Okay.
But yeah. Good choice, Dave.
And also the idea of going, someone saying, "Hey, look, this is happening," and no one believing you, and they think you're crazy. So
The 50s one had kind of a Twilight Zone-ish kind of feel to it,
it
too.
does. It absolutely does.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. Awesome choice. Wow, we're already at 1960s, Dave. We're already getting there, huh?
Well, we're halfway.
45 minutes. Okay, there you go.
Exactly perfect. So.
Okay, so this is going to start getting interesting, I think. 1960s, Jeff.
Oh, yes. Well, now that we're into the 60s and the 70s, we could do a 3-hour program
Right.
on either decade.
Yeah.
But in the 60s, we had the Roger Corman Poe films, William Castle's movies, Barbara Steele's films, the Hammer and Dracula, Frankenstein movies, The Haunting, Seconds, one of my favorites, The Shuttered Room, one of my very favorites, and of course, Rosemary's Baby, a great favorite. But the people who know me would have guessed that the movie from the decade of the 1960s that I would have to choose as my favorite is Psycho, 1960, based on the novel by Robert Bloch, whom I was friends with in the last few years of his life, and great groundbreaking music by Bernard Herrmann, who did 7 films for Alfred Hitchcock. And a couple of ones that didn't materialize or have music. But Psycho, as you said about your favorite movie, Psycho is a movie that I can put on and watch at any time and just listen to, There again, it's almost like a silent movie in that long sequence when Norman is cleaning up the room after Mother has killed someone. And it's very visual, and Alfred Hitchcock said a movie ought to make sense if the sound went off. If the sound malfunctioned and all you could see was the picture, you should still ought to be able to understand what was going on, because film is a visual medium, and you're seeing it. So and that's certainly true with all of those great scenes in Psycho, the private detective Arbogast going up the steps, and Lila going down the steps to the fruit cellar, and of course the horrific shower scene, and all of the driving at the beginning with the windshield wipers, and just every shot in that movie is fantastic. The opening credits by Saul Bass. I have 3 bathrooms in my house, and the one upstairs is my Psycho bathroom. I have a Psycho shower curtain and
Nice.
a 1-sheet poster of Psycho 2, which I adore, and still 8x10 stills from all of the movies, and one signed by Robert Bloch and one signed by Janet Leigh. So Psycho is a movie that I just have loved my whole life, and like I say, Psycho 2 is ranks with The Godfather Part 2 as one of the greatest sequels ever made. It's fun to watch the two of them together because it goes full circle. It gives you the whole story and takes you right back to the beginning, if you have seen that movie, with great music by Jerry Goldsmith. So yes, of all of those movies that came out in the 60s, The Haunting, Seconds, The Shuttered Room, Rosemary's Baby, I love all of them, but my favorite, of course, has to be Psycho.
And the ending to that movie too is just the last seconds of the movie with him sitting there.
He was always bad.
Yes.
Wouldn't even harm a fly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think we're going to continue
the shot of Norman grinning, and you see the skull almost subliminally, and then you see the car being pulled up out of the swamp. So a visual treat, as so many of Alfred Hitchcock's movies are.
Oh yeah. And I think we're going to just continue talking about it, Dave.
We are. This is one that I chose as well. I
Yeah.
absolutely love Psycho.
Mhm.
I've read all the books. I've seen all the movies. I absolutely love Psycho. Psycho is like an onion that you start to unfold and it gets to deeper and deeper levels. And I could not say enough about, to me, the creepiest scene is when he plunges the car into the swamp and he's standing there and he's looking off to the left as and I think it's Li- not Lila, but it's the gentleman. I can't remember his name right now.
Sam Loomis.
Sam is knocking on the door. Maybe it's Arbogast to the door of the Psycho house, and he's well behind it at the swamp. And it's just such a creepy film. I love all the foreshadowing. I love the fact that when you not the doppelganger, but the MacGuffin of the money, the idea that she's stealing it. There's some comedy in there as well when they're in the office where the Texas billionaire is like, here's 40,000 in cash, and Alfred Hitchcock's daughter Pat is all, I declare, and he's all, I don't. That's why I get to keep it, and different things like that throughout the film.
I guess he noticed my wedding ring.
He noticed my wedding ring, so that's why he didn't flirt with me. All sorts of things. The scariness of the police officer when she wakes up. You had mentioned last time you were visiting with us of the mirrors, and again, you have the mirror of the sunglasses. You have Lila being scared of the mirror. You have the idea of the double. Another favorite scene is when Marion decides to take the money back, and Norman opens up the window and he's all, look, it stopped raining. It's just so very poignant. It's wonderfully made. It was made in 42 days. It was made by a television crew. The shower scene took 7 days of those 42 to make, which lasts on scene less than a minute. I think it's about 45 seconds. It is the best movie ever made.
One of the very best. Yes, somebody a moment ago asked, he said, Jeff, don't you think that Psycho is one of the greatest movies, period, ever made? And absolutely, yes. Because it was so influential and innovative. It changed films and film music. And, now in today's time, all of us know about, split personality and, things like that, because we've seen it on soap operas and on every nighttime TV show and every movie. We've seen that story over and over. But in 1960, it was genuinely shocking to people. Of course, they had seen or read other things like The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but the idea of having a split personality was not as ingrained in us as it is now. And so it packed a wallop back then, and still does, of course. But you can just imagine how the audiences in 1960 were shocked and horrified by everything that happened. And one criticism of the film that people sometimes bring up is that the scene with Simon Oakland as the psychiatrist goes on too long. But it goes on fairly long in Robert Bloch's novel too. But like I say, for 1960, audiences needed that tutorial. They needed that lengthy explanation to really let them know what this is about, dissociative identity disorder, which now we've seen, like I said, on every soap opera and every movie and TV show. But back then it was new and different. I met Robert Bloch in person at a couple of conventions, and then corresponded with him for the last 4 years of his life. We wrote letters to each other. He always wrote by hand in ink, either black or red felt tip pen, and he never saw any of the sequels because he had written his own sequels. He wrote a Psycho 2 novel that has nothing to do with the movie, and even killed off Norman in his novel, and then wrote Psycho House. So he said that he never saw the sequels. but he said that he thought that Psycho was a very good movie. He said his only criticism would be that scene with the psychiatrist goes on a little too long, but he was, somewhat subdued and non-committal, but he did make the statement that he thought that Psycho was a very good movie. But he was a very nice man. He wrote stories of such grisly murder and mayhem and horrors, but in real life, he was a very nice, kind, thoughtful person. When we wrote letters to each other, I talked about his books and my favorite short stories of his, The Pen, The Goddess of Wisdom, and others. But much of our correspondence was just about my work at TSU and WAMB and his upcoming stories or books or his travels, my travels, our families. He was just a very nice person. Later in his life, there were some fanboys who wrote to him and said, Mr. Block, we have a fanzine, and would you write something for our fanzine? And so he did. He wrote a little article for them and sent it to them, and they put it in their fanzine. So he was a very nice, kind, generous, giving man, very friendly to the fans, and that probably goes back to his friendship and correspondence, letter writing with H.P. Lovecraft. He appreciated the attention and the the consideration that the great writer gave to him as a young person, and so he turned that around and gave it back to all of us.
I think Robert Bloch's, my favorite quote from him is, "I have a heart of a 5-year-old boy, and I keep it in a jar on my desk."
Yeah.
Dark and macabre.
And
Love it.
one last thing about Psycho 2, if I remember correctly, it's kind of like the first time you start to see a gimmick as far as films go, because you were not allowed into the theater after it started. You had to be there from the very beginning.
Right. Oh, yeah. Before that, movies would just run constantly all day long, and people would just walk into the movie theater at any time. They didn't come and sit down and wait for the movie to start because the theater was showing a newsreel and a cartoon and a short subject and a movie and a double feature and whatever. And that's where the old saying, "This is where I came in," comes from. When somebody starts telling a story and you've heard him tell it before, you might say, "Oh, this is where I came in." But that originates from how people would just walk into the movie at any point in the progress of the film. And at that time, many of the movies were musicals or comedies or love stories, and you could walk in at just about any point and sort of have the idea of what's going on. But you're right, Psycho, you have to see from the beginning. You have to be there and become invested in Marion, and then have a horrible shock, and become invested in Norman too. And then, with all the twists and turns, you must see it from the very beginning.
Yeah. Psycho, every now and then you get a story, a character, Norman Bates, that comes along that's just so iconic and just one of a kind, that just will always go down in horror history as one of the greatest films of all time when it comes to that genre. So it's definitely a good choice, that's for sure. And I love it. But
Did you choose it?
I did not choose it. Dave, I mean, I think you know what my favorite is, but
I know it.
yeah, but I do have to throw in, before I give you my number one, my second is Blood and Black Lace from 1964, Mario Bava. This is my runner-up. I just have to talk about it because past few years, giallo, Italian, European horror, I really got into, and I've watched so many, and it's just such a different genre of horror. The feel of it, the way they write it and they tell it on the screen is just, I've fallen in love with it, and it's fantastic. And Mario Bava, 1964. This is considered like one of the first giallo films of all time, and it's beautifully filmed. you start getting the colors of the reds and blues and yellows and so many red herrings. Every actor, actresses, you're looking, who's the killer, you know, what's going on. And you get that quintessential mask and kind of like a top hat and trench coat. And it's just something I love. And I've just fallen in love with Giallo, and Blood and Black Lace would have been there if it wasn't for my favorite film of all time. There's not another film that I like better than this one. Is Rosemary's Baby from 1968. I mean, what can I say about it? It's a psychological horror. You know, you've got Mia Farrow, who's just looking beautiful, but her performance in this film is up there. It's one of the greatest. You know, it just revolves around her and what's going on in her life, you know, and you got some satanic stuff going on, but I think it's the visuals that really capture it for me. The location, that building, and the actors. You know, you got John Cassavetes, who's great, died at a very early age, unfortunately. I think 55, something like that, Dave.
Very young, yes.
Yeah, something like that. But Ruth Gordon as Minnie Cassavet, fantastic. All that makeup. She's an older woman, and she's just going, you know. And it's just the character development between them and the building is just, it's just so good. I sit there and I just watch this, and it's one of those, you just fall into the story. Like I'm almost part of the picture itself because it just pulls you in, you know, and you're trying to figure everything out, and you know, what's going to happen to her, what is this, and then the ending, you get hit with that ending and that baby in the baby carriage, and it's so iconic. And yeah, I don't know what to say. I mean, Ruth Gordon, she did win an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress in the film. Very creepy role, and she wins. So, you know, it's one of those things. But yeah, that's my movie. I love it. Not sure your thoughts. Well, I do know your thoughts. You said you loved it. You named it as one of your, you know, one of the greatest films in the 60s. It's fantastic. I can't say enough. I'll stop now or I'll keep going on.
And Edward Stewart says, great choice, Dino. Still have my VHS on it. Ed Stewart has a VHS on everything. I'm sure he has a VHS on Psycho as well. Not to mention Dark Shadows. So,
Right.
yeah. No, it's yeah. Edward Stewart's something else. I'd love to see the VHS library, Edward, one day. But you know, so go ahead, Dave.
No, I was gonna say I think I've seen it one time.
Oh, okay.
Ed Stewart's library.
Okay.
We're going to jump into the 1970s.
Oh,
the year, at least I was born. I think Dino was born then too. And this was a very difficult decade for me. And I'll let Jeff talk about some of the films that came out.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't hard for me, but you know, anyways, go on, Jeff.
Well, once again, like the 1960s, my beloved 1970s gives us another embarrassment of riches. You know, we could go on and on about the Omen movies, the Dr. Phibes movies, the Blackula movies, the Count Yorga movies, the Night Stalker movies, House of Dark Shadows, The Other, one of my favorite movies, Trilogy of Terror, the reincarnation of Peter Proud, and all of the great ABC movies of the week, the 90-minute thrillers. You know, almost every week, every Tuesday night, the ABC movie of the week had a film that was somehow suspense, mystery, occult, supernatural. You know, that was fantastic. But there again, people who know me probably imagine that I'm going to choose one of the many productions of Dan Curtis, who was so prolific in the 1970s, you know,
but you're not going to.
And House of Dark Shadows and Night of Dark Shadows. And so my choice, my favorite from the 1970s is one of Dan Curtis's greatest horror productions. No, not Dracula. That's one of the others. Burnt Offerings from 1976, based on the novel by Robert Marasco, and co-scripted by Curtis and William F. Nolan, co-creator of Logan's Run, who wrote several scripts for Dan Curtis. The Norliss Tapes, another one of the best movies of the 70s, The Turn of the Screw. But yeah, Burnt Offerings is, like I said, one of Dan Curtis's peaks, because he had more time and more money and more resources to make an unforgettable theatrical film. Most of his productions were TV movies, but Burnt Offerings, was in the theaters in late 1976. It was the #1 movie in America for 1 week in October of 76, and later won the Saturn Award for Best Horror Movie of 76, beating The Omen. And that would be a close, impossible contest, but I'm glad that Burnt Offerings prevailed. But as we were saying about other movies like Rosemary's Baby and Psycho, this is a movie where it just envelops you, it immerses you in this world, and you are as trapped in the weird supernatural house as the Rolfe family is. And talk about a great cast. Karen Black, Oliver Reed, Betty Davis, Eileen Heckert, Burgess Meredith, Dub Taylor. We've seen all of those actors as leads or supporting players in so many other memorable films. And then, of course, The House. So many of Dan Curtis's films have a great sense of place to them, and this one certainly does. It was filmed at the Dunsmuir House and Gardens in Oakland, California. And if the house is familiar to you, you also saw it in Phantasm, and So I Married an Axe Murderer, and the James Bond movie, A View to a Kill. You see both the exterior and the interior, as you do in Burnt Offerings. Phantasm uses only the outside of the house, and the inside is sets. But Curtis filmed Burnt Offerings inside the house, in all of the actual rooms and on the grounds, the swimming pool, all of the surroundings of Dunsmuir House and Gardens. It's an historic home that you can visit. I would love to see it sometime. But great music by Robert Cobert, who scored almost all of Dan Curtis's 4 productions. And, you can be in another room and you can hear the sound of the TV and oh, that's a Dan Curtis movie. I recognize Robert Cobert's music. Let me go look. That's just a built-in successful partnership there. And the movie is an extremely faithful adaptation of Robert Marasco's novel, Burnt Offerings, until you get to the end. But before that, even a lot of the lines of dialogue from Marasco's novel are reproduced in the book, in the movie. But the book, has an ending that is literary and abstract and works wonderfully in prose literature as you're reading it, but wasn't visual enough. And so Dan Curtis went with a completely different ending, a much more visual, visceral, shocking ending. And I won't give much away about that, because you really need to see it, and it packs a punch too. But the movie is 2 hours long. By today's standards, that would be considered a long, slow movie. And sure enough, it takes its time. It does move at its own pace, and the scares are spaced out. They're not all jumping at you all at the same time, but you get a lot of characterization, and you learn a lot about the characters, and then suddenly they're in a scary situation, and then you learn more about the family and their troubles, and now they're in another scary situation, and the scares are some of the best. I don't want to give away ones, but Betty Davis and Oliver Reed are in her bedroom. She's lying on the bed in distress, and you hear the footsteps coming up the steps. So Burnt Offerings is one that you must see and must see many times, because it's so rich and well done that you will want to revisit it.
Yeah, and it was the coffin on the steps too.
Yes. Yeah.
Sweet. Nice. Okay, Dave.
Dino,
Yeah.
go ahead.
You want me to go ahead?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm going to dive into a movie that I seen only 8 years ago, maybe about 8 years ago. It was when I just started getting into giallo films, and the movie I had to pick. And again, there's so many. There's Alien. There's so many good movies, but one I fell in love with and became one of my favorites. Like, again, this is in my top 10. A little gory, but it is a giallo film. Deep Red from 1975.
Hmm.
It's a Dario Argento, Italian horror, mystery. Lots of red herrings, same thing. I mean, most of giallo films revolve around the same kind of murders going on, and beautiful women, and this elusive killer that's usually masked or cloaked in darkness. And this one, I think, again, if you're a fan of horror, the way they set up a lot of these kills were like the bathtub scene in this film. It's just fantastic as a horror movie lover. Not everybody likes gore, but it's done in a way that's just, spooks you, but doesn't, gross you out. But lots of great scenes in this. And again, a fantastic film. I can't say enough about it. Influenced a lot of slashers later on. A lot of people look to Deep Red, which I think was underrated for many years. But the revival in the 90s and the early 2000s of some of these slasher films, people really look back on Deep Red and some of these giallo films as inspiration. So and the Goblin soundtrack, you get that in Suspiria too. There's a certain sound that you listen to in these movies, especially early giallo, that especially with Goblin, that it touches the senses. So that's me. Deep Red 1975. There's my pick, Dave.
All right. I had a difficult time with this decade. As you had mentioned also, there were so many great made-for-TV horror films. And Dino and I are doing the Circle of Fear right now, and every week there's just a really cool, supernatural horror story. Also, I think it's an English series, but Thriller was a great TV series as well.
Right.
I liked The Night Strangler. I liked Halloween. I chose the Norliss tapes.
Oh, good.
Okay,
I
Dave.
chose it because it is it's up there as far as horror goes.
You were begging me to watch this for I think a couple years at least.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because it really was like, once I found The Night Strangler, I was like, what else is there, right?
Yeah.
Or the Night Stalker, The Night Strangler. What else can I get? And I think the Norliss tapes fits that trilogy really, really well. You have great actors throughout. You have a great story. I'm sad it wasn't picked up for a TV series where we could have had another season of wonderful stories. And it is a truly scary and shocking film. You deal with supernatural, you deal with demonology, you deal with Egyptian history. You have, of course, the great Angie Dickinson in there as well, shooting this monster who kills her dog. It's just, I love the mysteriousness of the film as well, not being able to get a copy of it until most recently in the early 2000s. I think it finally came out on DVD. I think 2005 comes to mind.
06. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. But I love the Norliss tape, so that's my choice.
I certainly do too. It's genuinely scary. It's so well done. And by the way, it aired on NBC 53 years ago last night, February 21st, 1973. Yeah, that's another one of Dan Curtis's great achievements. Thanks to a fantastic script by William F. Nolan, who adapted a short story, but most of it came from Nolan himself. And as you say, it was very much in tune with the times, because interest in the occult and demonology was so high in the late 60s, early 70s. So yeah, the Norliss tapes is very, very well done, and I wish it could have become a series. William F. Nolan wrote the script for another Norliss movie or TV episode called The Return, which involved time travel. But there was a writer's strike that happened at about that time, and the networks were not interested in picking it up. So all we have is just that one fantastic atmospheric movie. And Roy Finnis of the Norliss tapes, Dark Shadows and the Invaders, is going to be at the Dark Shadows Festival in Los Angeles in late July, early August. So you can tell him how much you love the Norliss tapes. And the upcoming new issue of Wonder magazine, Wonder number 19, is going to feature an interview that Wonder did with me all about the Norliss tapes. So I'll give you a lot more information in that interview that's coming out in Wonder 19. In Wonder 18, they did a long, comprehensive interview with me about Dan Curtis's productions, but the editors came back and said, well, we didn't say much about the Norliss tape, so let's do an interview about that. So that's what's coming up in Wonder number 19.
Nice. Look out for Wonder number 19. Awesome. Okay, so that takes us to the 80s, which...
Yep, I'm going to put my side ponytail on, and we're going to head to the 80s.
Your side ponytail. You know what? The 80s, 1980s, just encompass it's one of the greatest, funnest decades of my life. I mean, you know, it's filled with so many cheesy horror films, and I think this is the decade for cheesy horror, and there's so many of them. But you know, there's also some great A-list horror movies in here too. So Jeff, yeah, what do you got for the 80s?
Okay. Oh yeah, well, there was so much in the 80s because home video flourished in the 1980s, and all of the companies were hungry for product to put on VHS tapes for us to watch at home. And so that's why so many horror, sci-fi, fantasy movies of varying quality came out in that decade. But then you also, as you say, had the Poltergeist movies, The Fog, The Hearse, a genuinely scary movie, The Changeling, one of the best horror movies of the decade, and of course Psycho 2, which I love, and another great one, Fright Night. But the one I choose was written, directed, and scored all by one man, Frank LaLoggia, Lady in White, 1988. An unforgettable, outstanding film, which to its credit as a horror movie, is genuinely scary. The scene in which the little boy is locked in the coat room, and he sees the ghost of the little girl, and she looks at him and then sees what happens next, is one of the eeriest, scariest scenes in all of horror cinema.
Wow, I've never seen this film before.
I have not either.
Lady in White, starring Lucas Haas as the boy. He now has grown up, and you see him in other things. And Lynn Carreyrou from Sweeney Todd and Blue Bloods, and several recognizable people. But it's about a writer in the present day, 1988, going back to his hometown and thinking back on something life-changing that happened to him in the year 1962. And what is it about great movies that take place in 1962? Right. X-Men First Class, American Graffiti, Lady in White, The Sandlot, Matinee, one of the best movies of the 90s. But the period detail of 1962, Halloween of 1962, is excellent in this movie. The music that LaLoggia composed is excellent. And like I say, there are many very genuinely chilling scenes. There are also some scenes that would fit into a kid's adventure type movie like The Goonies or The Monster Squad or Young Sherlock Holmes. A little bit of comedy and some very disturbing and painful real life subject matter. I won't go into that if you haven't seen the movie, but some of the things that are happening in the movie are just awful. And yet the movie juggles all of these different tones and puts them all together into an unforgettable film that in some ways is very 80s in terms of special effects, but in other ways, like all great films, is completely timeless. It's very rooted in 1962, but the story is timeless because it could happen to any of us or any family or any town, when mysterious events happen centered around a ghostly figure known as the Lady in White. And there is a series of unsolved murders that is plaguing the town. And, many, many other things, even a touch of To Kill a Mockingbird is in there. So you're right. The movie is changeable. It goes from different moods and tones from scene to scene, and yet somehow it all coalesces and works and pays off in a terrific conclusion to the movie. So, yeah, Lady in White, 1988. I saw it in the movie theater and was very, very impressed. And I have the one sheet movie poster and listened to the music, and of course I rewatched it twice before I came here to your show. So yes, if you haven't seen Lady in White, be sure and see that one, because let me know what you think about it, because it will leave an impression.
Yeah, no, I wrote it down. I can't wait to watch it now. It's funny how some movies just slip on by, right, Dave?
Absolutely. I don't think anyone even in the chat had seen it either. So I mean, it's definitely one I want to check out.
Yeah, Chris W says she watches it every Halloween, I think she said. So
good.
A couple people knew about it. So yeah,
well,
every Halloween.
That scene in the coat room is one that you will never ever forget. I won't say any more, but when you see it and hear it and experience it in the movie, that leaves a lasting impression.
Nice. Okay, Dave. What do you got, Dave? Throw it at him.
There's so much. I think about being introduced to Joe Bob Briggs at this time, learning about the Puppet Master films, Dr. Giggles, The Shining. My top three ended up being third place was Psycho 2.
Mm-hmm.
Second place was The Thing. But for number one, I chose The Fog. I absolutely love this film.
I'm shocked. He lives down the street from The Fog.
I absolutely love it. I've got video of me at the church walking. I was in that church alone one time. I showed up and there was a lady cleaning it, and I'm like, "Would you mind if I just was in here?" And she's all, "I don't mind at all." And I just got to be in there.
Any wood dripping water, Dave?
No dripping water. And I did not carry any gold with me. So, but I was looking for that cross. It's just such a great film. Adrienne Barbeau, Jamie Lee Curtis. It's John Carpenter's. It's a masterpiece of early 1980s cinema, and I absolutely love it. I have you to thank, Dino, for introducing it to me, because we watched it as a group, and it was wonderful. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And I love John Houseman at the beginning.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with that.
And I love that Adrienne Barbeau is a radio announcer, based on an actual Los Angeles radio announcer. But she does such a good job. She's so at ease and natural and conversational with her listeners, and playing good jazz music, stock music that didn't cost the production much money. So yeah, I like that movie very, very much. That runs on the Movies ! TV network every October, and that's always fun to see, and once again hear, because that music is so good.
Mm-hmm.
And I have yet to be there when it's foggy here. We don't get that much fog in Southern California, but one day when we're fogged in, I have got to drive to that church. So.
Yes, you must.
Yeah. And the isolation of the radio station way up there overlooking the ocean. I mean, it's something that, you know, you'd like to be in that place, right? You know, sitting there spinning records. I mean, come on. It's fantastic. Okay, so mine is going to be, I guess not controversial, but The Shining, 1980, Stanley Kubrick. I just love everything Stanley Kubrick does. I go into deep dives with conspiracy and all that other stuff too. So, you know, there's a lot of symbolism and things in this movie too. But that aside, just the performances, the isolation up in this hotel is, for me, just fantastic. I mean, for me, when I talk about horror films and things that really get me and I love, it's different than most people when you hear them talk about it. But the fact that they're up in this hotel all alone, this gigantic hotel for the winter, and you can't go nowhere. I mean, in my mind, I'm going, I just would love that so much, to just roam around. And he's writing a book, you know, so, you know, middle of the night, you know, you're stuck a little bit, you get up, you start walking around down the halls, you know. I mean, it's just, that's the stuff that gets to me, you know. I love that. I love the thought of just having something so large, you know, to yourself, and the isolation. So yeah, I mean, I love it, and everything about it. And I look for new things every time I watch a Stanley Kubrick movie. In the background, all that stuff, we all know about the rugs, stuff like that. But and some things I won't mention, the bear suit. Anyways, so that's mine. I know a lot of people say it's a little drawn out at the beginning, slow to take, you know, to get going, but that's okay, you know, because I'm entranced in the film, and I'm there, and you know, I'm watching them make this film. So yeah, it's a film I love. Anyways, there you go. And we're getting to the 90s. I think we're right on time there, Dave, huh?
Perfect.
Now the 90s. Okay, so the 90s were harder. I don't know, Jeff, am I wrong? Dave, am I wrong?
You're wrong.
Wrong? I'm wrong? Okay. So, you know, 90s was a little bit harder for me, but
Okay.
Go ahead, Jeff. Let us know your choice.
Well, like I mentioned, Joe Dante's Matinee. It's not a horror movie, but it's, as I told my students, Matinee is a film that all movie lovers and all movie makers must see. So if you have not seen Matinee, you must see that. And Gods and Monsters, one of the greatest films of the 1990s, is not a horror movie, although there are horrific parts. But in terms of the horror of the 90s, of course, we have Ghost, Misery, Trilogy of Terror 2, Scream, Apt Pupil, The Sixth Sense, which I imagine many would say is their favorite. But the one I have chosen as my favorite is Sleepy Hollow, directed by Tim Burton, 1999.
There you go.
It's a very good adaptation of Washington Irving's story, not completely faithful. No film adaptation really is, but it's very well done. It looks great. It won the Oscar and the BAFTA for art direction, and I understand why. You know, it looks so good, and tells a fascinating story that blends the past and the present, or religion and science, superstition and modernity, because Johnny Depp plays Ichabod Crane as someone who places his trust in the latest scientific advancements and equipment of the day, and that plays into the movie. But so many good people are in it, you know, Christina Ricci, Casper Van Dien, Christopher Lee So whenever Christopher Lee shows up in a movie, even if the movie is bad, we have to see Christopher Lee. And Michael Goff is in it. So it's a mini Horror of Dracula reunion. I like Sleepy Hollow very much. There are some parts that are gory by 1999 standards and today, but that's the nature of this story. The headless horseman, and there are other decapitations that occur in the film. So I liked the way the movie was written and acted and directed, and the way it looked, and liked how it, except for a couple of humorous asides, played it very straight, took it totally seriously. And whenever I watch Sleepy Hollow, I always lament that if only the 2012 Dark Shadows movie, directed by Tim Burton, could have been done in this serious, literate way, it would have been so much better. But at least we get to have a taste of that when we see Sleepy Hollow. That's the one that I choose for the movies of the 90s.
Very good. Nice. Yeah. And Matinee, I'm going to have to check that out too. 2 movies I wrote down. I'm like, I haven't seen them.
Well, I haven't seen Matinee.
Oh, you're in for the treat of the year. Joe Dante's greatest film, and like I say, a movie that all movie fans and all of us fanboys and fangirls must see, because it tells our story and it captures our devotion to movies. And John Goodman, who should have been nominated for an Academy Award, plays a William Castle-like gimmicky director who brings a horror movie to Key West, Florida, and plans to exhibit it in late October of 1962. But you may remember what was happening at that time, the Cuban Missile Crisis, a real-life horror that threatens to overshadow the horror of his giant bug movie that he brings to the screen in Key West. Jerry Goldsmith's music is exquisite. So just be sure and watch Matinee, because that's one that you must see.
I'm a Joe Dante fan too, and
this is his best. He did Gremlins 2, he did Gremlins, he did The Howling, he did so many great movies, but Matinee really speaks to the movie goers and the viewers.
Nice. Okay. Well, thank you. I got 2 movies to watch. Dave, how about you?
Well, I know with Connie Cleary here, she's probably thinking, Dave, did you choose Frankenhooker as your favorite 1990s film? And
Yes.
I did not.
That's mine. No,
I chose Psycho 4, The Beginning, 1990. I absolutely love this film. It is a perfect wrap-up of at least the series of Psycho films. It goes back. It is a prequel to the original Psycho. Henry Thomas, of course, famous for E.T. fame. Olivia Hussey is in it. It is tremendous and wonderful, and I love it. And I would love to be rolling on the ground with Olivia Hussey.
And of course, Anthony Perkins is in it too.
And yes, Anthony Perkins is still in it, and he's calling in on a radio program late at night, and he's basically confessing to everything he did. And you see the pre-murders that he did, the killing of his mother and her lover, and all of that, and just it is phenomenal. So I love Psycho 4, The Beginning. That's my choice.
Well, you're a Psycho fan, Dave. Yeah. Okay.
Well, quickly, what did you think of the TV series Bates Motel?
I have not seen the TV series Bates Motel.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was very well done. I liked it. Yeah. Give it a shot, Dave. It's really, really good.
I did not have a TV I still don't have a TV. So everything I do, I stream. And it's, I just was very busy in the early 2000s. And
Gotcha.
90s.
Well, did you happen to catch the 1987 made-for-TV movie called Bates Motel with Bud Cort and Jason Bateman?
No, I did not even catch the Friday the 13th TV series.
Oh, you're fine.
there's still a lot more out there for me.
Jason Bateman, so he played the Norman Bates character?
No, it was a pilot
Okay.
movie, sort of like a fantasy island or a serious dramatic love boat, in which guest stars would come to the Bates Motel every week and be confronted with some sort of mystery or horror or some sort of situation. It didn't go past the pilot movie stage, but it ran in the summer of '87 and reran in the summer of '88. So it may be floating around on the internet or something, but that's a forgotten curio in the Psycho universe. But
it's an interesting concept, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. Well, let me get my last one in here for the 1990s. And you know what? I think the 90s, I got caught up in working and all that other stuff, so there's periods in your life where, you may not have seen everything. And I think that's what happened for me with the 90s, although I had written down Event Horizon. That's not my choice, but Event Horizon, I mean, it's number 2, at least for me. Such a great sci-fi psychological horror film. And, if you like those space horror, it's really, really good. But I'm going to stick with, the classic Bram Stoker's Dracula in 1992, Francis Ford Coppola. Gary Oldman. Again, I hate when they remake, but this was one that, it's okay because they did it in such a good way. And all the actors and actresses who played in there, Gary Oldman, Winona Ryder, Anthony Hopkins, they did great jobs in all the roles they needed to. Visually, it was great. So yeah, I'm going to keep it short, but yeah, I mean, we all know the Dracula story, but Francis Ford Coppola, I mean, did a really good job in his adaptation of the movie. So yeah, that's mine. So there you go.
There
you go, Dave. What?
Thank you. Is that your favorite Dracula from all the Dracula movies?
Oh no, that's
Well, what is?
I mean, I like the Bela Lugosi Universal better than this one. I know a lot of people say the Francis Ford Coppola that this is the quintessential Dracula movie, but I still like the Spanish version too, from the 30s. And Nosferatu. That's kind of a different adaptation, because I would also say, I like Nosferatu better than this. I like the 1970s version
with Jack Palance, or are you thinking of Frank Langella?
Frank Langella, yes.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. It's for the 90s. It's good. It's not my best, but Bella's always going to be my favorite for that story, the Bram Stoker's. But I tell you, I enjoy Nosferatu better than the Dracula movies. So, anyways,
mine would have to be between Jack Palance and Louis Jourdan.
Okay.
Two of the most faithful to the novel, yes, especially the 1977 Count Dracula with Louis Jourdan. And I, of course, love Richard Matheson and Dan Curtis's version, Dracula 1974 with Jack Palance. The first movie to emphasize the relationship between the Dracula fiction character and the real life Vlad the Impaler, which movies since then have run with, like the Francis Ford Coppola and the current Luc Besson movie Dracula, A Love Tale. And both of those movies include a storyline not in the novel, but that came from the Dan Curtis Dracula, not to mention the Dark Shadows TV show and House of Dark Shadows and The Mummy. The idea that Dracula in the present time finds a woman who is the reincarnation of his long lost love. That, of course, happens again in the 1992 Dracula and in this current Dracula, whose full title is Dracula, A Love Tale. So this new movie fully embraces the love aspect, but yes, Matheson's adaptation of Dracula is one of the most faithful. I have a long article about it, and that mentions other Draculas on a website called vampiresandslayers.net. So if you want to learn more about the Dan Curtis Matheson Dracula, take a look at that. And then the Louis Jourdan Count Dracula from the BBC in 1977 is extremely faithful. You know, even recreating the crawl down the side of the castle and things like that. Shot on videotape, as many programs in England were in the 70s. Upstairs, Downstairs, Blake's 7, and others. And many of Dan Curtis's productions in the 70s were shot on video, like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, The Turn of the Screw, Dorian Gray, Frankenstein. But yeah, those would be my two, with, of course, an honorable mention to the 1931 Dracula. That is what so many people think of when you say the word Dracula, you know.
Yeah. Love at First Bite isn't in that list. Huh?
Oh yes, delightful. That's a wonderful. That scene when they dance to "I Love the Nightlife" by Alicia Bridges. That's a wonderful scene.
Yeah,
my
Love at First
parents
Bite is
took me to that.
hilarious.
And I remember just him saying, "Children of the night, shut up."
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts on one last thing? Your thoughts on since you mentioned vampire films and all that, and you really do love the vampire films. Hunger with David Bowie, one of the best of all time, I think.
Catherine Deneuve. Oh yeah, that's another movie that is so atmospheric. It just envelops you, and you are immersed in the movie, you know, like Burnt Offerings and so many others, where it's so real to you.
Yeah, very artistic. It's a dream.
And we should also,
like the 1979 Nosferatu. That's an extremely hypnotic movie.
Yes, Werner what's his name again?
Werner Herzog.
Werner Herzog. Yes, there you go.
Kinski.
Yes, yes.
And there's a little known, speaking of forgotten curios in the universe, there is a lesser known sequel to that movie called Nosferatu in Venice. You might be able to find that on the internet, or years ago, when I would go to conventions, I would always look for the man whom I called the man with the yellow tapes, because he had all sorts of hard to find movies in those hard plastic cases with yellow labels on them. So he was the man with the yellow tapes. I wonder if he ever transferred to the man with the yellow DVDs or whatever happened to him. But if you were going to conventions around the Middle Tennessee area, you ran into him.
Yeah. J.O.B. Nobody mentioned Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Listen, B movies of the 80s. I mean, well, 90s, right? So,
and also Thomas Swafford earlier on it mentioned Christopher Lee. We have not mentioned Christopher Lee as Dracula. I think he's a wonderful Dracula as well. He didn't talk as much as I would have liked. You know, I mean, he's just a really wonderful actor, and I would have enjoyed hearing his voice more in the Dracula.
Well, there was some stuff going on, and he didn't even really want to talk. He didn't want no dialogue. He was pissed.
Well, so, he does talk much more in Horror of Dracula, the first one, and you're right. That's one of the greatest vampire and Dracula movies ever made. But you're right. In subsequent films, he was just a menacing presence, but he didn't really say enough or much of anything. Yeah. I think one of the later ones, was it either Scars of Dracula or Satanic Rites of Dracula, he did have some dialogue scenes. But for some of the others, like Dracula 1972, wildly entertaining, he's more of just a monstrous presence looming over the movie.
Nice. Well, hey, Jeff, it's Dr. Jeff Thompson. Check out the links below in the description. Follow them and Yeah, help Jeff out. But man, it was just nice having you on again and talking horror movies.
Thank you so much. I had a great time. We could talk all night, and I'm sure all of your listeners are going to continue writing to you and each other, and we'll keep this conversation going.
Oh yeah, they were very, very active in the chat, giving their opinions on movies and stuff like that. So very, very good. Yeah, Dave. Any?
Yeah, I'm excited because there's some new movies that I'm going to see with Matinee, and there was one other one,
Lady in White.
Lady in White. The other I have not watched either.
Oh, The Other, a fantastic movie based on a great Gothic horror novel by Thomas Tryon. The Other is an extremely well-made movie about twin brothers, and I can't tell you any more than that, but you get the idea of what might be happening in a movie like that. Great music by Jerry Goldsmith, great 1930s period detail. So yeah, Thomas Tryon wrote great novels: The Other, Harvest Home, Lady, Crowned Heads, and of course Betty Davis starred in a 2-night TV miniseries called The Dark Secret of Harvest Home, which I wish would come out on DVD and Blu-ray, but it sometimes runs in syndication on TV, or you can find it on the internet perhaps. But that's another great example of 70s Gothic horror, and you could say one of the precursors to the current folk horror genre.
Yeah, so which didn't make my list, Wicker Man, but another great, fantastic one.
The Citizen Kane of horror films. The Wicker Man is just magnificent, brilliant.
Wow.
And as you were saying about another movie, multi-layered, multifaceted. You could study that movie. You should, because there's so much there. With an unforgettable ending. The movie will rock you. I showed it to my son Jonathan, and he was struck and highly impressed, and liked Britt Ekland's part too, because he knows her from The Man with the Golden Gun, starring one of the best Draculas, Christopher Lee.
Yep.
Next time you're here, we will do Somewhere in Time.
Oh yes, Somewhere in Time.
Oh boy,
exquisite. Another movie that everyone must see, and I showed it to almost every one of my classes at Tennessee State University from the late 1990s to the early 2020s. And all of the students, female and male, always were enthralled and liked it very, very much, and wrote heartfelt, emotional essays about Somewhere in Time, based on another novel by Richard Matheson, and he wrote this screenplay as well. So
maybe we can do a stream on time travel movies. What's the Malcolm McDowell one with
Time After Time? Another great movie. That's one of the best time travel movies.
Yes.
Oh yeah, great time travel movies. And surprisingly, Christopher Plummer had a little cottage industry going, because he starred in 3 time travel movies: Somewhere in Time, 12 Monkeys, and The Lake House. Another wonderful movie.
Okay, nice.
And another more recent time travel film that's wonderful is The Time Traveler's Wife.
Oh, yeah, that's a 2000s, I think.
Yeah, 2010.
2010, somewhere. Okay. Well, yeah, it's great having you here, man. You've got such knowledge of like the deep dives into deep cut films, that sometimes we just never heard of. So it's just so great to have you here.
Well, I'm an educator, so I'm glad to share these movies with you.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Dr. Jeff Thompson, as always. 3 times now, and hopefully we'll have you for a 4th in the future sometime.
Okay.
To talk time travel movies. Let's do that. And we're sponsored by Trader Joe's, so I'm going to side off now, Dave.
All right, sounds
everybody in the chat, thank you for showing up. Appreciate it. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up, and please leave a comment afterward, and check out the links below in the description. So there you go. Last words, Dave?
Nope.
Jeff?
Thank you very much. Have a good week ahead.